Is it okay to have my legs crossed?
Hi, welcome to the Spiritual Connection Show. I'm your host, Katie Augustyn. So I'm an energy healer, I'm a shamanic practitioner, and I'm a transformation coach. And I'm also the spiritual head of the Transformation Center CT, which is located in Westport, Connecticut. So at the center, we do a variety of trainings and workshops, and every month we have satsang, which is Sanskrit for in the company of the truth. And it's just a wonderful, peaceful evening to just spend time with yourself, do a little meditation, chanting. It's really a nice time. So come anytime that you're available. It's usually the third or fourth Wednesday of each month. We also started something recently. It's a shamanic clinic where we have practitioners there, and you can come and just do a little sample healing session for about half an hour. And it's a community service that we offer. So come check that out as well. It's the second Tuesday of each month. All of this information is on the website, transformationcenterct.com. So the Spiritual Connection Show is all about connection. What a surprise, right? So it's about connecting with each other as well as connecting more fully with our own spiritual selves. And you'll learn a lot from my guest each week. Maybe you'll learn something about yourself. You'll learn what they're up to and how they can help you on your spiritual journey. So welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. So my guest tonight is Christina Dufour. Hey, Kristina.
Hi, Katie.
Hey,
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I'm really happy. We've been wanting to get you on for a while now. Yeah, so this is cool. So I'm going to read a little bit about you for our audience because they don't know you.
Okay.
And I learned something too with what you sent me. So Kristina is an award-winning entrepreneur. She's a public speaker, and that's how I met her, actually. A mental fitness specialist, and I love that term. We're going to hear all about that, right?
Yeah.
And a mindfulness educator. And in 2015, she founded Carnelian Connection, which is the name of her company, and she's going to tell us how that got started. And they support corporations, educational institutions, as well as individuals with their wellness. And her Native American heritage, combined with a business management background, and all of her trainings and certifications in mindfulness, meditation, as well as yoga, all of this gives Kristina a unique ability to help people cultivate vitality, inner balance, and reach their full potential. I love that. That's perfect. I mean, I can totally relate to that. So maybe that's why we had that connection right away, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. But before we learn all about what you do, and I tell everybody how I met you, the first question I really like to start with, can you tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey, kind of like how you got to where you are? Anything you want to share?
Sure. I think my spiritual journey happened a long time ago, or started a long time ago, because I was fairly young when I was considering spirituality and asking myself some pretty deep questions. It started with the loss of my grandmother. I was 10, and at that time I just started kind of wondering more about life and death and why people die and that sort of thing. And then it deepened as I lost more grandparents. And I actually remember I was about 14 or 15, and my grandfather had passed away. I remember kneeling beside my bed and praying to God and asking why. Why is this happening? Why do we lose people? And it was funny, I had this impulse to turn on the radio, turned on the radio, and right in that moment there was a song, I think it's by Patty Loveless, and it's How Can I Help You to Say Goodbye?
Oh, wow.
And the song is saying, it's okay to hurt, it's okay to cry, how can I help you to say goodbye? And I remember feeling as though that wasn't a coincidence.
No.
And this continued on, you know, my questioning around life and what it means and death and this. And years later, I had lost my father. And that was an even greater shift in that direction. But it really put me face to face with my own mortality in a lot of ways. Something about losing a parent and so suddenly. And I started feeling like life is uncertain, and I wanted my life to have meaning. And I had felt that way before. That's what drove me into a career in banking and really pursuing that to the fullest. And I started when I was 17. I wanted to work my way up into management, which I did, and I was doing all of this. But at the loss of my father, I started wanting to pursue different things. That's when I took the yoga teacher training. I never intended to teach, but I used it I wanted to use it as a way to help myself through that time, which it did. It did. It was the first time I was able to really be in a space where it was comfortable to talk about your feelings. It was comfortable and safe to go inside. It was welcomed. And to offer ourselves kindness and compassion and acceptance. So it was very healing for me, and it just progressed from there. I met people in that world. Somebody who stands out to me in particular, I was taking a class, he approached me, he said, "You're a healer. I'd like to attune you to do Reiki." And you'd never know it knowing me now, but I was a total skeptic. Katie, I was really kind of like, Reiki?
Me?
Yeah. And but what I experienced on that journey, my curiosity and openness, I guess, from taking the yoga training, led me to experience things that I couldn't go back from, and a new understanding of something about this energy work. And later I was suffering from trauma and some PTSD, and then I was really struggling physically and mentally, and I discovered a lot of healing through these different practices. And that's when I was deepening my learning, deepening my training. I had gone to a number of doctors. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. It's funny because I hear stories like this all the time now,
right? Yes.
But at the time it was very scary. I was having panic attacks. I was suffering from a lot of pain in my body, fatigue. I had a team of neurologists at Yale working on me. Couldn't figure anything out. And then I came across some new practices: deep relaxation, restorative yoga, somatic awakening and breathing and somatic healing. And these things, along with some work with Melissa Webster, who I believe you know from structural energetic therapy, really started putting me in touch with the healing capacity. And my spirituality deepened, and I went for further trainings and meditation, mindfulness, and it's just kind of grown and grown and grown from there. And then, of course, the more I started offering these things, energy healing, teaching meditation and mindfulness, and supporting others in healing their own traumas, or reaching greater levels of potential, as it helped me do eventually, has been phenomenal and increased my learning and growth in spirituality.
Yeah, I know. That's awesome. So it starts as a journey for ourselves, and then it turns into, wanting to spread it and help everyone else.
I believe so.
Yeah, that seems to be a pattern I'm kind of familiar with.
It's hard to not want to.
I know.
After you experience what it does for you.
You see how much it helped you, and so you combine a lot of things in your work right now.
I do.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it all, but that's why you're so busy.
Yeah.
But it serves you. I mean, you seem to be thriving.
Yeah, well, I do a lot of things that make me feel alive, a lot of things that make me come alive. I always make time for the things that matter and are meaningful for me.
Yeah.
You know, time for family, time for friends, my nieces, you know, that fills me up. And the practices, I mean, I practice daily.
So you still do that, your self-care?
Yeah, self-care is it's in the schedule. It's just as important, if not more important, than anything else I schedule. It allows me to thrive.
Well, that's a good example then. That's perfect. Yeah. So I'm curious about the Carnelian Connection, and how did that happen? What is that about?
Well, I had explored some different careers after I got out of banking. And ultimately I decided that I wanted to teach all of this stuff and that this would be the best way I could serve the world. So I was trying to think of a name and what kept on coming to me was the first stone that I ever felt any sort of connection to. Because again, I was very skeptical in the beginning, so people were wearing these stones and these healing stones, and I was thinking, okay. But then there was this one time I had a connection to a stone, and it was the carnelian stone. And its meaning is that it stimulates a deeper connection to oneself and going inward, promotes being centered and grounding for meditation, and it also stimulates vitality and power for physical exercise. So it really, its meaning is very much in line with a lot of what I offer through my business. And I knew that I wanted to support people in making more authentic connections with themselves and ultimately others in the world, to live life in its fullness. But utilizing the name Carnelian and adding connection to it really kind of brought the two together.
Yeah, I love that. The connection thing, we have that going too, right? Yeah, that's cool. And you have the little stone on tonight? Is
I do. It's on my necklace.
It's beautiful. So it's a color, it's a deep, kind of an orangish.
Orangey red. Yeah. And this is handmade in Augustyn by a woman I met in a yoga training. So it's extra special.
Yeah. So you've had the company for like 4 years now, right?
Yeah, it's been, almost 5.
Oh, right. 2019's almost over.
That's right.
It's hard to believe.
It's really exciting.
Yeah. Well, you know, when was it that we met at the Rotary Club? Was that, do you remember what month that was?
Yeah, it was in the spring,
was it
I
the
believe.
Spring? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's about 6 months ago, maybe?
Maybe April or May.
Yeah, so that's how, for our audience, that's how I met Kristina.
That's right.
She was brought in as our guest speaker, and you spoke about the fact that the work-life balance is really a myth. There's no such thing? Is that?
Yeah, well, I'm calling it a myth.
Okay.
I knew I wanted to do more speaking, and I wanted to bring an impactful message. And through my work, I had studied a lot around what some of the greater concerns were in the working world today. Work-life balance just seemed to come up a lot. And a LinkedIn study shows that it's the #1 career regret in the United States.
Wow.
And we know that more people are working from home, you know, but there are even studies to show that many of those people are still struggling with work-life balance. I know in my work, a lot of things, working with the mind, you start noticing that a lot of our barriers to thriving or reaching our full potential or even overcoming stress can have to do with perception.
Yes.
So when I was looking at work-life balance, I started considering, well, what's our perception of it? If it's such an issue, then how are we looking at this? And that's where I came up with, well, we're trying to balance work over here and life over here, these external things. And the way I had come to look at life was really that I'm one person with this one life, and I have a bunch of things in that life, and work included.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily give it half the scale in terms of its ability to affect my balance,
Right.
my sense of balance. So that's when I came up with the idea of the inner balance pathway, and that if we want to feel balanced, we should look for inner balance and manage our attention.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. There's a lot of good tips and lessons there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you think of one that you'd want to share?
In managing the attention, I think what's important is that we recognize our presence. Our attention is our energy. It's our life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how we're spending that matters.
Yeah.
And I don't think we often think about investing our attention wisely,
No.
investing our presence wisely. And so I think the greatest tip that comes from it, you know, whether you take the whole journey of going into body, heart, you know, mind and spirit or not, even just to be aware of investing your attention wisely like you would your money, and investing it into the people and experiences and work that matters and is meaningful to you, because that fills you up, you know?
Yeah,
So,
gives you more energy to do more stuff that you want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, I feel as though it helps sustain my balance, because whenever I'm doing something, I am doing my best to be fully there. So if I'm with my nieces, I'm fully with them. Nothing else really matters at that time. And I've noticed working in corporations that can be a struggle for people. You know, when I go home, I'm taking my work with me, and I'm not able to be home. Or if I'm at work, I'm taking my struggles from home with me, and I'm not able to be at work. And so just even learning to just be where you are when you're there and enjoy the fullness of that moment, I think adds to life and feeling balanced.
Yeah, definitely. And I think part of the problem may be that we don't realize we have a choice. You know, we think that there's something external that's driving us, and not knowing that we have that choice to put our attention, like you're saying, where we want to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I think some of these practices are so important, because we're going inside and we're making that connection, and we're recognizing and developing a lot of self-awareness, really.
That's the key.
Self-awareness of our emotions and our thoughts and the things that are going on inside of us. And so we come closer and closer to developing a connection with our attention enough to be able to, you know, disconnect from those thoughts or emotions that are trying to steal our attention.
Yeah.
You know, we develop strength around that.
Right. I think that's really important, to know that we have that choice of you know, we don't have to think those thoughts. I mean, it's
true.
Literally.
You can reframe them.
Yes. Put them to work for you.
Yeah, or let them go, you know?
Yeah. So, well, yeah, I agree. That's really a good place to start for people to learn that, you know, and not to listen to that little voice in our head that's criticizing us or whatever it's busy doing all the time, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So I want to ask you a little bit about like how you work with, speaking of balance, like how you balance your work with the corporations, because I know you have a few that a lot that you always work with, right?
Yeah.
And then that versus an individual coaching, how does that, you know, what's the balance there?
Yeah. You know, it's fascinating because working in different corporate environments means that I kind of have to show up with a little bit of a different energy, so to speak.
Okay,
you know,
makes sense.
The environments themselves are different. So, and some of them are similar, like Kind Snacks, who I work with, is similar to Dorel Sports, relaxed millennial environment, you know, but then an advising company that I work with is much different, right? So, but that's fun to me, it's fun to me to be able to be that free in myself and to be able to, I guess, just kind of tune into that environment and communicate in the ways that are effective for them. And a lot of the underlying teachings are the same.
Okay.
So it's really just the presentation that might change. And for individuals, it's very much about the individual. So all of it's quite tailored. I think my exploration and study of acting really helps me to be able to tap into different places in myself that support delivering a message in a way where it meets the culture and the people of any one particular company.
Oh, wow.
And being able to just be present with who I'm with enough to support them where they are and help them get where they want to be.
No, I can totally get that from you, that you would listen, you would know exactly what's needed, for that given person. Yeah, I can see that totally. Well, I'm curious, like the people that you coach at a company, a corporation, so do you work with them individually as well, or is it a group setting? How does that work?
It varies based upon the needs of the corporation and the programs they decide to incorporate with their wellness offerings. So we do offer group sessions and one-on-ones in many cases. So I have a couple different programs and services that we tailor to meet the needs based upon either connecting them to the company's values or offering a basic introductory 5-week program that offers the associates a toolbox that they can utilize of mindful tools to help them at work and at home. And then I have a couple companies I'm working with where it's much more specialized, bringing these mindfulness tools into performance plans or weaving them into training programs that are for the person.
So something more specific that's
right.
needed,
So it really, I think wellness in general is new to the corporate world, and I've discovered that there's a lot of exploration going on there and a lot of desire to help people and help their associates, and that varies based upon the company in terms of how they want to deliver an offering and what exactly they want their people to learn.
Yeah, like what the goals are. Do you perceive that they are, well, probably your clients are like they're most interested in having wellness for their employees as opposed to helping their bottom line?
I mean, in all honesty, I think that it's meant to support the bottom line in the corporate environment. I do believe that there is a general sense of wanting to help their employees, but a lot of these programs and skills and tools are meant to develop soft skills, and those soft skills really support the hard skills.
Right.
So even though they are, in a way for the individual and their personal health and personal growth and this sort of thing, at the end of the day, I think, sure, it's really meant for them to improve performance and be more focused and be more engaged and work more collaboratively and think more creatively and innovatively and essentially be able to help the bottom line of the company.
It really does, ultimately,
Yeah.
now that I'm thinking about it, because all these things do work.
That's right.
So what's good for the individual is good for the company.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's the company's greatest asset, too, so it's a great investment
That's true.
for them to make.
So smart. Yeah, very smart. Well, you also work with schools, right? Or a school?
Yes. Ethan Allen Preparatory School is the school I work with. And they're directly tied into the Golf Performance Center, which is the Northeast's leading golf academy for athletes of all ages and skill levels.
Oh, boy.
And they offer boarding and schooling as well as after-school programs.
For golfers?
For junior golfers.
Oh my gosh, why have I never heard of this?
It's a great center, Route 7
where is
in
it?
Ridgefield.
In Ridgefield?
Mm-hmm. And so in the school there, I offer a class called the Mindful Playground.
Ooh.
Yeah,
yes,
and we take adventures in consciousness.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I just love that because I think some of these practices and tools can be a little scary. It can be a little scary to go inward, or we can be apprehensive to that. We haven't been, I don't think, as a society, very exposed to that.
Yeah.
And especially at a young age, you're just starting to really kind of understand conceptually some of these feelings, and you know that society names things good and bad and right and wrong, and
right. All
so
the labels that we give things. Yeah.
So it's hard to be able to go in and just allow it to be fun. And in my journey, I've really discovered that makes such a huge difference. The more you can let go and just explore, the further you get.
Right.
So I'm noticing some great results with the kids because they're open to exploring.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I've let them, because I called it the playground, right? I let them decide what our rules were going to be, which they wanted to call systems. And they came up with some great things like, non-judgment.
Cool.
And growth mindset and enjoying the journey.
And you didn't prompt that? They came up with that?
No,
That's
I let
amazing.
them, and I wanted them to do that because the power of choice.
Yes.
Right? And I want them to understand that. So over this journey, taking these adventures, there's a lot of learning that will come, and part of coming up with the rules is so that they feel connected to that.
Well, yeah, and ownership too.
That's right. So they can, they made these, and now they can really put it into action and experience that challenge, and maybe be a little bit more open to it as well. Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun.
I love that. What age group is generally the kids?
These are high schoolers.
High school kids. And it's a boarding school. Okay.
That's right.
And then you also work with the Golf Performance Center with adults as well?
We offer adult programs there. Most of my work is with the juniors.
I see.
And so we have many age groups. The age groups I work with are middle school and high school.
Okay.
And so I collaborate with our head coach, Dennis, and also our performance coach, Tyler. And we come up with some really cool offerings so that they can integrate some of these mental tools into their coaching and training. And we'll, go over all sorts of things like reframing reactions or negative thoughts, constructive worrying.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and also empowering a greater self-image. So we use visualization and breath connection, things like that. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that for my husband because he's a wannabe golfer. I mean, he's a golfer, but he wants to be, better. So
yeah,
sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Well, I can't believe that we have to wrap up already. That was so quick, right?
Oh, it was. Yeah,
I know. I feel like we could talk all night.
I know.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. I'm glad we got to have you. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, we can always do it again if we have more to talk about.
Sure.
So, yeah, absolutely. So thank you. Thanks to our audience for being here. I hope you enjoyed meeting Kristina and hearing everything that she's doing and up to. And I'll see you on the next episode. I'm your host, Katie Augustyn. Thank you for being here. Blessings and good night. Thank you.